Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the P&L IRL podcast. I am your host, Luke, and with me, as always, my co-host, Pat. Pat, you want to say hello?
Hello, everybody.
All right. So this is our inaugural episode. This is a day after because we had some technical issues. We're just getting into this new podcasting venture, so I had some tech issues on my end yesterday that we had to get resolved, so we came back the next day better than ever, back and better than ever. With that being said, welcome to the P&L IRL podcast. This podcast is just a creative venue for us to kind of express some ideas, and I thought it would be a good thing to start us off with some introductions. So Pat, I'll let you start first if you want to introduce yourself a little bit here.
Happy to do it. I am Patrick Bowman. I am a father, a husband. I have a full-time job managing different parts of a global supply chain. So unfortunately, this podcasting, Twitch streaming, all that good stuff isn't paying the bills. So I do have a full-time job outside of this. Happy to be here. Excited to share a lot of different thoughts. Talk about a lot of different topics. But a little bit more about me specifically. I do play a decent amount of video games. It's a big way I spend my time, connect with my friends, with a big variety of games. I have two dogs, a Havanese and a Cockapoo. One we got as a puppy and one as a rescue. So since I did say I'm a father, I have a 7-month-old. So we have a full house here in Indiana. So that is where I'm from. I'm from Indiana. Been married for a few years now. My wife, Kelly, is a math teacher. And like Luke said, we're here to just be creative, have fun, connect with the community, just build an environment where we can discuss a lot of different topics, healthy debate. And, specifically, I'm looking forward to conversations regarding sports. I was a big athlete in school, follow sports still to this day. Play a lot of video games, like I said, a little bit of an outdoorsy guy. We like to go camping. We like to travel. My wife loves Disney World. We've got tickets to Country Music Fest next year. So we do a lot of different things. Luke, what about you? Who are you?
Yep. I'm Luke, and I am here in North Carolina, from Indiana. That's how Pat and I know each other. We'll talk more about that later on. Just like Pat, I am a husband, not married nearly as long though, just 1 year coming up here before too long. And in my other life, I teach. I am a teacher. I thoroughly enjoy teaching. It's one of the best decisions that I could have made in college, I feel like. And along with that, I also coach some youth sports, including baseball. I've coached some basketball, some softball. And very much into youth leadership development and working with young adults. So that's a little bit about me. Like I said, I'm married. My wife, Adrienne, she is a museum professional. We've been together for a long time, 9 years, all the way through college. And that's been awesome. Just like Pat, I play a lot of Xbox, play some video games, but I'm also really big into sports. I saw the meme the other day about Joey Votto's hit stats, Pat, and it reminded me that you sent me that. That's just...
It was nuts.
That's ungodly. That the man never... he never popped up to the catcher, first baseman, or the pitcher? He still hasn't?
Yeah.
That's insane.
6,500 at-bats.
6,500 at-bats, and the man's never popped up to the catcher. And that's one of the easiest things that's another podcast. That's one of the easiest things to do, though, is to pop up to the catcher or pitcher. I mean, that's baseball, but I digress. So yeah, in my free time, I love talking sports, playing video games online with my friends, being active and engaged. I work out, hit the gym quite a bit, go kayaking. Big fan of that. Just bought some kayaks not too long ago. That's a ton of fun. We have two dogs here as well. We got a pit bull and a Pomeranian, Bunny and Edie. They are a handful. And my goal with this podcast, it's a way to get to know people, communicate our ideas, share our stories, share some fun stuff. hopefully get to do some interviews with some interesting people later on. That's really what I'm interested in, is hearing other people's perspectives on a variety of things ranging from sports to video games to life in general, fitness, health, you name it. Just a little bit of everything. Gardening, I'm a huge gardener, didn't mention that, love gardening. Um, and how all these things interconnect as as you get a little bit older. Um, yeah, and then I've got a Facebook and Twitter, social media. I'm out there. Um, Anything else you wanted to add in there, Pat? I mean, I feel like that's all about me. Anything you wanted to add in about yourself, or we
I'm
can?
pretty sure
Yeah,
you mentioned social media.
sure.
We'll have all that information in the comments. So
Yep.
check those details out. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter. You can find me on Twitch. You can find us both, obviously, in our Discord.
Right up there with Ninja on Twitch, right? You know, that second most viewed Fortnite stream, right?
Yes, right next to Ninja. You'll always see me, guaranteed.
Yeah. I heard Ninja wanted to invite you at some point. That would be. I think
If
he'd be.
he really wants to get famous and popular, he'll let me know.
Those of you who don't know, Ninja is a famous Fortnite streamer. He streamed with the likes of Drake, what was it, Juju Smith-Schuster, a lot of other athletes.
He was actually just at the ESPYs and was with Jared Goff and several different athletes. Actually, they set up a computer, couple consoles, so whatever athlete wanted to play on, they had it ready.
I think that's a great conversation for a future podcast too. Is just this Fortnite craze, how it's taken over, and maybe how long can it sustain? I mean, just the other day I read an article. It made over $1 billion in microtransactions. That's cost.
So far this year.
Yeah, just so far this year, exactly. That's insane. I mean, we're what, 7 months through the year?
Yeah.
That's nuts. That's mind-boggling, and it's all cosmetic. It's not pay to win. There's no advantage. It's mind-boggling what that developer is doing with Fortnite. But again, maybe a conversation and how long can it last? So with that being said, we've already talked some sports and some video games right off the bat. The objective, let's talk about that real quick. The objective of this podcast, our mission statement: we're two friends interested in a variety of topics ranging from video games to sports, career success, development, while maintaining a balance between career, family, and fun. I think both of us are very interested in continuing our career growth. Seeing how
Unless, of course, this takes over.
I mean, if this takes over, Pat, I'm not gonna lie. That's another story, but I think that's for when our podcast hits number 1, right up there. Again, I don't even know if Ninja has a podcast, but if he did,
he won't when he finds that we do.
No, he'll be intimidated off the podcast market, I think. But we want to inform, collaborate with others. Like I said, looking forward to hearing some guests from a variety of different backgrounds. People who we've connected with in the past, and just talking about a wide range of topics to share our ideas and interests. So with that said, the last bit here, this is kind of a short intro podcast, and this will be up on YouTube. I thought I set up a list of maybe 4 or 5 things we could talk about to kind of wrap this up, and I called it off topic to end the podcast. So I think the first thing maybe we should talk to everyone about is how you and I met, Pat, and how this whole idea of the podcast came to be.
Sure, I think that's a great start. So, if nothing else, people at least know who the hell we are. So we are both from a small town in Indiana. Mm-hmm. We went to school together. We played some Little League baseball together. Our parents know each other. So we go way back, but in all honesty, we weren't excessively connected throughout a lot of our school career, I guess you could say. Right. So, we had similar friend groups, but not the exact same friend group through high school. We had a lot of honors classes together, so we're both basically genius. We had a lot of honors classes together. We did go to the same college.
We did.
So after high school, we went to the same college. But again, we went to Indiana University, a school of 50,000 people.
Insane.
And I was in the business school, and Luke was in the School of Ed. So, we didn't necessarily see each other a lot there either. So we've spent a lot of our times near each other. not necessarily with each other. And one day I think I just said, hey man, I know you play some Xbox. You want to check out this new game, Destiny? I got a beta code. Luke, do you remember that?
I do remember Destiny, Pat. I remember Destiny getting that beta code, and I was just it kind of caught me as it caught me off guard. It was like, oh man, like I knew Pat. Like I said, he said we went through high school together, but we weren't super close friends. I feel like we had the same core group of friends in high school, mainly because of what you mentioned. We were all in those advanced honors classes. That was just kind of like, who you were around most, more or less.
Right.
College, like I said, we ended up in different. The irony now, Pat, did you ever live in McNutt? We can talk about this for a minute.
I did. I was in the Kelly Living Learning Center. So I was in a school, the part of it that was specific to the business school. So everyone I was rooming with on every floor of that wing were all either in the business school or trying to get into the business school.
Right. So if you're not familiar, those of you listening not from Indiana, McNutt is a dorm at Indiana University, and there are many dorms. I was in Teeter my freshman year. Teeter Boys in One Legal Issues Learning Community. I was the president of that community, and I did not go into legal issues, as it turns out. But it was a great experience. Had a great time. But the fun irony behind that, Pat, is that you were a resident in McNutt. I ended up going through the RA process and being an RA for 2 years at McNutt. And that was just, whew, that was something. McNutt was great. I loved it. I can think of so many great memories there. That's maybe that's the college days podcast coming forward. We got so many ideas for this podcast already just out of this intro. But yeah, you're right. That Destiny moment was, I was like, oh, okay, well, sure, I'll play Destiny. I've been hype on this game. Saved me $30. I'm a poor, broke college kid. Pat's sending me a beta. I'll play some video games. I'm cool with that. And that turned into too many hours played in that game. Far too many.
I mean, I had a good time for all of them, so I don't know if it was too many or not, but by most definitions, it probably was.
Yeah, I think, I think I prefer not to say how many hours of that game I played. It's a bit out there. Great game, obviously, if we sunk that much time into it. But it did develop our friendship and even connected you with some of my friends from back home who you still hang out with now that you're in Indy. I am not. As I mentioned, I'm in Carolina, which is why if Pat's audio sounds a little different, we're working through a system called Discord, which is something you can join in as well. You listeners, you can join into our Discord, and we'll have more information about that at the end of the podcast. And so today is kind of where we end up. I came up with this idea. With my students, I record a lot of audio and video, and I just had this idea. I got a microphone. I said, I want a creative outlet. I want to talk. And Pat messaged me on social media and said, hey, it'd be awesome to be a permanent guest or co-host. And I said, that's awesome. That's even better. So it's not just me talking to myself in a room, because that's incredibly awkward. I do it all the time when I record stuff for students, recording notes and podcasts. So I said, that's awesome. Let's do it. Let's jump in. And so here we are. And I think this is something that there's a lot of potential for, something that can really grow as we continue to do this, and we continue to set up new topics, new things, and hopefully you enjoy listening throughout all. So let's talk next maybe about the setup of this podcast, Pat. We had some technical issues yesterday. And how we set this up, maybe people who are new to podcasting, maybe interested, would like to hear how we decided to go about this. Because it's really, podcasting is something that there's not a very high barrier to entry to do,
Well, for the most part, as long as you have any modern laptop, you have technically all the required equipment to start a podcast. As long as you have internet, a microphone, you don't even need a camera technically.
Right.
So if you had to hook up your Xbox headset or your PlayStation headset to your laptop and use it as a microphone, you certainly could. So You're right. It is very easy technically to get into this realm.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that really led me towards this more than like maybe vlogging, video blogging, or something like that, and even just blogging in general. That's something I do a little bit on the side, a little bit of blogging here and there, but just the ease of it. And again, there were some technical issues. That's something we're working through. For the most part, I'm going to be handling the tech on this side, so it's a learn as we go process. But even just going through so many names for this podcast, holy cow, we started in one place and we ended with P&L IRL, which is a great name. But we went through 10, 12 names. We went through 30 minutes of just sitting in front of a screen, thinking, thinking about what this would be, setting up the social media accounts, setting up the Google accounts. So I think if you really do want to really invest yourself into this, it can be something very high end. There are very, very high end podcast productions out there. You can view any of them in any iTunes podcast or any wherever you get your podcast from. And I'm sure many people. I saw a stat the other day: 1 in 5 adult Americans listens to podcasts. That kind of surprised me. I thought
that's definitely exciting. That's a lot more people than you might think.
Yeah, that's a lot more than I thought. So it's just something that, low barrier to entry, high eventual production value, and just something for fun to do and to communicate and talk with friends. So the only other things we have to talk about, Pat, are some of our social medias and what we are looking at going forward.
Yeah, so for social media, like we kind of mentioned briefly, we will have it in the comments. We'll be able to find that information. But we are on Facebook, PLIRL, so facebook.com/PLIRL. We're on Twitter, PLIRL1, so at PLIRL1. You can follow each of us individually on Twitter and Facebook. Check us out. By our name was fine. My Twitter handle is at Bowman Patrick. Luke, what's yours? Do you even use Twitter that much?
Yeah, that's a great question, Pat. I don't. I'm not much of a tweeter. I think is what do you call people who tweet? Somebody joked.
Human, I think. Just
human.
human.
I heard somebody made a joke at one point. I don't know if it was in college. I remember this, but somebody said if you tweet a lot, you must be a twit. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think that's what they're called.
You know what? I'm gonna say not. I mean, because Twitter, but clearly a successful platform. I'm not super big into it. You'll see me tweet from time to time. You'll see a lot more, I think, from the PLIRL1 account and also from Pat. Pat, you stream as well. What's your Twitch?
Yeah, definitely. Starting the Twitch channel. We've been doing it for a couple weeks. No set schedule. Between this and a career outside of this, having a son, it's a lot going on. So we get on there when we can. But you can follow me on Twitch, Lil_Ricky, RICKIEEE, same as my Xbox Live gamer tag. So trying to get some consistency in some of this stuff. But we play a lot of RPGs. We'll certainly play some competitive multiplayer games as well. But I don't know if you guys have ever scrolled through the list of people streaming Fortnite, but holy cow, there are more than a handful. That's not where you build a community on Twitch nowadays. It's just impossible to get found. So we play a little bit of RPGs. I'm thinking somewhere down the line we can start getting back into Grand Theft Auto.
There you go.
Good video game, good conversations to be had for sure. A lot of fun. Most recently, I've been getting some good responses playing Skyrim and interacting with the people who are following. So they'll actually throw out either their ideas of what to do in the game when it's happening, or a reminder of how to solve some puzzle. We're kind of just playing the game together. They get to relax and watch and interact, and that's the same excitement for me. So check us out, all kinds of places. Check the comments below in the YouTube. But reach out to us. Join our Discord as well. Mm-hmm. So the Discord is PNLIRL.
Yeah, definitely, and that's something we can talk about going forward. You mentioned some of the games that you do stream on Twitch. You can find me on Twitch occasionally. I just like you, Pat. I try to avoid the Fortnite because it's a very cluttered arena right now with the Twitch stream or so many of it. I was looking at Smite the other night, so I am a big Smite player. Smite is a MOBA, so if you're familiar with League of Legends or things like that, Smite is a MOBA that you can play on the Xbox, and it's a ton of fun. I was looking the other day, and I think at one point I had 5 streamers, and that put me pretty high up in the Smite rankings, because unfortunately, for lack of a better way to say it, not many people at the time were watching Smite. Not to say Smite is not very popular, because it's got a world championship. It's a great thing, ton of fun. Obviously, I love the game, but it was just kind of funny to see the difference between the top streamed games. Honestly, though, the second most streamed thing at the time, this is the dumbest thing. Let's talk about this for just a second. Dumbest thing last night. I saw there was a guy streaming, and he was literally streaming IRL. So IRL, this ties into our name. IRL is in real life. And you can stream Twitch IRL too. Dude was streaming Twitch IRL, and it was literally him watching paint dry. Dude had 10,000 viewers. 10,000! I was like, what on earth? Like, this man is watching paint. And it was like, people were commenting, and the comments and the subscriptions would come up, and they would be read off by that, silly computer voice. So if somebody said something inappropriate, it would be read. It was terrible. I was just like, how is this a thing? 10,000 people watching this dude.
To each their own.
Oh
That's
my gosh.
Phrase, to
Whew.
each their own.
It boggles my mind, but there's a lot of things that boggle my mind, which is why this podcast exists. So looking forward to the next show. The next show, we're going to focus kind of on video games. We're going to focus on 3 topics. That's kind of going to be the goal, I think, with most podcasts, is kind of go through 3 steps. Usually an introduction, and then 3 topics and a conclusion. And obviously, if we have guests, that can change, but we'll try to stick to that format. The first topic we're going to talk about is video games, which is the evolution of video games and the evolution of the gamer. What does the modern gamer look like? Is there a modern gamer? How has, mobile changed? You mentioned playing a game just before we started this, and I'm blanking on it. HQ Trivia or something. How has mobile? Right. Sorry. Yeah. How has mobile changed gaming? Clash of Clans is a huge mobile game still, and you can see that in it. Hearthstone is a card game that you can play on mobile. How has the modern gamer changed over time? What are the roles of video games as you get older? For instance, for me, it's more about communication. It's my way to stay in touch with my friends back home in Indiana, being 9 hours away from them and coming home very rarely. And then obviously this is going to be the biggest part of it. The big, I guess, finale of the next podcast, games we played and games we're looking forward to. Maybe we'll do a top 10 list of games we played on older consoles and top 10 list of games we play or we're looking forward to or we're really involved in right now. Because look, I'm going to be real honest. There's maybe 3 or 4 games I'm interested in. Anthem, please. Please, EA. Please don't let me down here. I need that game.
We'll see how that goes. It is made by EA.
I need that game to be good. I want to believe in Anthem. I don't want to believe in ridiculous DLC and battle royales, but we'll talk about that too. So, Pat, you have any closing things you want to talk about here as we wrap this up?
I think I'm good for tonight. I'm just excited to get this show going, get some people involved. We really want to take the feedback that we get, improve the show, be a little more interactive, so we can kind of change our topics from week to week based on what you guys want to talk about. We can make this a team effort. We can be following Twitter at the same time. We could eventually be streaming on Twitch at the same time, or who knows what we could be doing. So we want to get people involved. We're excited to get people involved, and I hope you are all excited as well.
Yeah, I just want to agree with that in the last couple closing thoughts here. To maybe do like a Facebook Live where we take live Q&A or take live Q&A on Twitter and work with the community. I'm sitting here with multiple devices at my disposal that we can use for that, cell phones, laptops. So this is like Pat said, this is going to be a great way to stay involved with the community. And so with that, I just want to say thank you all for watching or listening. This is on YouTube, but listening to the first episode of the P&L IRL podcast, and we will see you all next time. Bye-bye.